Hello, I'm Greg Harradine. In this video, I'm going to discuss how I composed Of the Alphabet That Bleaches to Unintelligible Dust. This is the fifth of my Caledonian Portraits, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how it was inspired by an incredible poem, Dedalus on Speed by J.L. Williams. Before you watch any further, please do take just a second and click that red button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps. Thanks. Dedalus on Speed is a fairly long, and you could even say sprawling poem. Sprawling in the best possible way. It takes on such a huge array of different themes and subject matter. When I first read it, I wrote down 3 words on my copy. The words were virtuosic, visionary, maximalist. It's about the story of Dedalus and Icarus. And, well, why don't we let Jennifer explain it herself?
So Dedalus and Icarus are flying through the sky, right? He's made these wings for them. And he's told Icarus not to go too close to the sun. But of course he does. And this whole poem is like a stream of consciousness going through Daedalus's head as his son falls from when the wings melt and his son's falling from the sun all the way to his death in the sea. And it's meant to be almost like, you know, that thing, like if you're dying and your whole life flashes before your eyes, it's like that, but it's his son dying and all of life kind of flashing before Daedalus's eyes in that moment. And I think I was trying to really get this sense, and it even has images in it like mirror balls and dragonfly eyes, and you know, so this idea of like seeing things from many dimensions as at once in a flash. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, like if you've ever, I mean, heaven forbid, hopefully you haven't, but been in an accident, or even sometimes it happens, like if you almost slip on a stair, and like, I think it's when a shot of adrenaline goes through your body. And I was in a, not a bad one, but a car accident once. And like, what was so strange is that I'm sure it was the adrenaline, like everything went into very slow motion. So like I could see the car spinning, I could see my friend at the wheel, I could see things passing, but it was like in a movie when everything just goes, you know. And so again, I have that feeling that that's what's trying to happen in this poem, that like, you know, he's up in the sky watching his son fall, he can't do anything, and like everything he's ever thought, seen, done, imagined is like kind of in slow motion, but very, very fast going through his head.
Such an incredible idea for a poem. As Jennifer was telling me all this, it brought to mind a particular story by the Argentine master of the short story, Borges. And I was delighted to find out that he had indeed been on Jennifer's mind as she was writing her poem.
There's also a story that I think is really important by Borges. Do you know George Louis Borges?
I know him very well. The Aleph.
Oh my gosh, you know.
Well, just your description then. I hadn't thought of it, but your description of capturing all of life made me think of the Aleph.
I'm so glad you know. That makes me so happy. So exactly that. So, you know, exactly that moment of, because of, you know, in the Aleph, it's seeing through this particular object. But for Dedalus in this moment, it's this moment of, you know, most poignant, extreme stress that he has that experience of kind of seeing all things in time and space in that moment. And it's completely and utterly beautiful and horrible at the same time, as, you know, everything about that moment would have been.
Yes.
Initially, I thought I'd have to compose an absolute epic of a piano piece to adequately capture Jennifer's all-encompassing poem. But honestly, that would have been outside the remit of my Caledonian Portraits project, and also unfair to the 7 other pieces, which were much shorter. How to capture or represent Dedalus on Speed in music? A difficult question. Help came from Jennifer herself when she sent me an audio recording of her reading the poem. As I listened, I was intrigued to hear her sing a few lines.
They are elegant, they are graceful, they play footsie under the table.
A ready-made tune. I immediately decided to use this tune just as Jennifer sung it, and so her melody,
They are elegant, they are graceful, they play footsie under the table,
became this. Once I had this short tune, I worked backwards and came up with the preceding 20 bars, in which the interval of a fourth is very important, since a fourth was an important interval in the music of ancient Greece, where of course the story of Icarus and Dedalus comes from. I also tried to mirror the breathless, dramatic quality of Jennifer's poem in the relentless momentum of my music. But this relentless momentum doesn't last forever. There are a couple of bar-length silences when we get to bars 31, 33, and this signals the fact that we're now entering a new section. Just as Jennifer's poem looks back to the story of Dedalus and Icarus, and looks back to the idea of seeing everything in a single instant from the story The Aleph by Borges, I decided also to look back to an earlier composer to inspire the middle section of my piece. I took the storm section from Vivaldi's The Four Seasons as a well-known example of a famously intense piece of classical music. I wanted to create my own version of the storm section, but rather than being caught up in the storm itself, I wanted to represent what it might be like to be in the eye of the storm, musically speaking. You know, everything's very still while craziness swirls around you. Perhaps that's how Dedalus felt in that moment, as the whole of life was whirring around in his mind as he watched his son plummet to his death. This is what we hear from bar 30 onwards. As I was composing my piece, a single note came to represent Icarus for me, the note F sharp. This note is frequently used, but other notes are always vying with it for attention, just as Dedalus is focusing on his son, whilst his mind is showing him a bewildering array of images drawn from the whole of life. But there are moments in my piece when the F sharp prevails, and all we hear is that note. Dedalus's attention is purely on his son. Jennifer's poem ends quietly with a still image.
He was gone, leaving only a hole in the smoke, the figure of my son.
My piece also ends quietly, in stillness, on slow D major harmonies, with various notes added challenging the purity of the D major harmony, until eventually we hear a final low D, followed by a falling motif in the right hand, completed by a single D major 7th chord, which represents the memory of what came before and what will never return. I hope this video has provided an insight into Jennifer's work and my piano piece based on Dedalus on Speed. If you're a piano player, you might be interested in having a go at playing this piece. I'll provide a link to the sheet music in the video description. To find out more about Jennifer's fantastic poetry, you can visit her website, jlwilliamspoetry.co.uk. Dedalus on Speed is published in an online journal, so I'll leave a link to that too in the video description. I've recently read this wonderful collection of Jennifer's, After Economy, published by Shearsman Books, and I highly recommend it. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like what I'm doing, the absolute best thing you could do is to become a supporter of mine on Patreon. My patrons receive a range of rewards, including the sheet music and audio to all my new compositions, at least one a month, the chance to vote on aspects of my future compositions, and much more. I'll leave all the important links in the video description. I'd also like to thank Creative Scotland and my Patreon supporters for supporting my Caledonian Portraits project. Until next time, goodbye.